on, guys? JD at JD's Custom Buggies. So we've been working a little bit on the YFZ. I've been getting some track time in. In the meantime, done a bunch of improvements since the dyno tuning. The next thing I said we were going to work on was suspension. So I went ahead and went to town on that. I had to come up with something because oddly enough, I have a set of Fox floats on the back of my on the back of the Yerf dog, and when you order these shocks, basically there's like 50 different listings. So if you're ordering Fox floats for, like, let's say a specific quad, they have different lengths, and what they are for are if you're using the stock A-arms and the stock mounts. If you're using X brand A-arms, you know, +1 A-arms or whatnot, whether they be wider or for long travel, there's all kinds of A-arm kits on the market. So Fox makes a different shock that'll fit all these different A-arm kits. So getting ahead of myself, I planned on starting a build for myself buggy-wise, and was going to use Fox floats all the way around. Ordered a couple sets, basically what was in stock at the time. Didn't realize what I just told you about, all these different lengths and whatnot. And the stock shock length was 18.25. So like I said, that's what's on the back of the Yerf dog. When we got back from the track, we decided, well, let's see what other Foxes I have in the shop. And one set was 19.5 inches long, and the other set was 21 inches long. So I was like, what do? Do I spend the $1,800 for another set of the right length shocks, or do I spend $1,500 on a long travel arm to fit one of these two pairs of shocks that I had? So I did have another set of stock A-arms, so what I decided to do was try and save myself some money, treat this thing like a buggy, and make my own A-arms. So I want to give you a quick look at this real quick. What I ended up doing was, on the stock arm, the mount has a stamped plate with some tabs up top, and that's what gives you the 18.25 from eye to eye. So had I used the 19.5 inch long shock, would have put me at the same angle right through the arm, which some aftermarket arms, they actually do that. They actually drill a hole, insert a tube, and you know, there's a space in the middle for the shock, and the bolt goes through the arm. I wasn't confident enough that I could drill that straight at the same angle as the where the stock mount, you know, as far as the angle of the bolt going across, because this isn't straight and that's not straight. It's got a bunch of curves in it, and you might not be able to see it with the camera, but as you take the arm and spin it in your hands, yes, I mean, this is nowhere near a straight piece of tubing. So I was just, you know, you put it in a drill press and try and get it drilled straight through. I just wasn't confident I could do that. So what I decided to do is go through see what material I had to work with, and I did have some 1 inch tube, 1/2 inch inner diameter, 1 inch outer diameter, which that shock bolt is 10 millimeters. So it was the only thing I had to work with. So we put it in the mill and put 2 flat spots on it so it would rest up against the arm, and then I had some other material that was 1/2 inch outer, so it would have fit perfectly in there with 1/4 inch inner. Drilled that out to 25/64, which is essentially 10 millimeter, and then inserted. Fortunately, I had some long enough bolts, and these were bolts that I ordered. They're actually Crossfire brake caliber mount bolts, and they just happened to be long enough to go from one side of the arm to the other where I needed it to be. So that's what I ended up using. Then I did a little underneath work. I made some plate or whatnot to give myself enough room for the shock, and then welded it all together to give myself some bracing. So I wasn't sure, you know, it went on the ground good. The shocks, I just basically bolted them up right out of the box. Didn't check the air pressures, whatever they came with. That's what I did, and went out to the track to try it out. So the other thing that we did suspension wise was took a 1/4 inch of preload out of the rear shock. So between this and the back shock, you know, went out there to see what we had. A couple of friends with mine, Matt Sarmiento, who you met, another friend of mine, Scott, and another friend I hadn't seen in a while, Ralphie, all quad racers, and we went out there, and I kind of took some laps with them, and then had all 3 of these guys get on there, and they were pretty much impressed. But Matt helped me set up the air pressure, he helped me set up the rebound on the clickers, and the compression dampening, and lo and behold, it just got better with every lap, and probably knocked about 5 seconds a lap off my lap time by eye. We didn't have a stopwatch, but Matt was watching and felt that I was a lot quicker on the track. So we're going in the right direction. By taking a 1/4 inch of preload out of the back, we did lower the rear of the quad, which helped because the thing was basically smacking me in the butt because it was so high up and so springy in the back. So by taking a 1/4 inch preload, it not only lowered it, and then we adjusted the clickers on it, but it comes up slow. So as you're going through braking bumps and whoops and whatnot, this isn't just bouncing in, because a couple of times the seat smacked me in the butt and took my feet right off the pegs. I got short legs, so it is what it is. The other major changes that we made are mostly aesthetic. I put the blue plugs were on there. I topped it off with a master cylinder cap from Works Connection. 4Works Carbon, I went to town over there, so they had a Black Friday sale. So I kind of went to town. We have some carbon fiber boot guards or frame guards here. Went with the carbon fiber tank topper. Get rid of the old the plastic that was on there. So she's slowly changing look. I just like the look of it. It looks different. I don't see anything like this on the track where I'm racing, so it kind of make the quad stand out. Got carbon fiber shrouds. And the fitment is really, really, really great. I mean, literally bolt off the stock one and replace it with these, and they're going right on. Got the carbon fiber hood. Now this is just a cover. The stock fenders are under there. This just bolts up top. I just like the look of it. And then the other nice thing about it, which probably hopefully helps deflect some air to the radiator into the shrouds, but this is a headlight eliminator kit. So basically where the headlights were, which basically they stick out right here in this pointy section, you lop off one of these pegs that stick out where the headlight plugs in, and then you use the front peg. So I had to take a little Sawzall to it and whatnot, but it bolts right up, and it's basically just a filler piece and makes it look a little nicer. As far as functionality, like I said, hopefully it's deflecting air. We got our carbon fiber heat shields from 4Works. We had one on there. You can tell this one's getting a lot of use because my boot is rubbing it. And if that wasn't there, then my boot would probably have a hole in it. Matt showed me one of his old pairs of boots, and literally, he's got an RP pipe also, and literally has a burnt hole right in the back of his boot. Last but not least, this is a 4Works intake. So if you remember from the dyno test video, we were talking about possibly changing the intake out to get some more horsepower. Matt's already done that on his stock 22, and he's just a hair over 50 horsepower now, with basically not far off from the same bolt-on upgrades that I have. So that's without any engine work or anything. So he's using I believe an RP intake. I had already kind of was digging the 4Works stuff, and the shipping is pretty quick. So I went ahead and ordered the intake kit, and basically this piece right here is all made out of carbon fiber. We were comparing it to the stock intake, and what you can tell the main difference is when you look through the hole where the filter bolts up, that you can actually see the other end. So it's less obstruction from point A to point B, whereas the stock intake boot, which is made out of rubber or whatnot, when you look through it, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So obviously this must flow better. Comes with an S&B filter, and then this aluminum box here, which we managed to get in. But it's just basically, it's going to leave everything open. Here's the battery portion. This is stock, and the stock airbox comes off, which is basically walled off here. So I'm seeing just a difference in design here, is that it's going to open up the airbox. And we saw last time in the video that with the airbox off, we instantly gained like 3, almost 4 horsepower. So tomorrow we're putting on a truck now. Gonna take it. I have an appointment tomorrow afternoon, going to see Matt. We're gonna throw it back on the dyno, and we're gonna. He wants to try some U4, some VP race fuel in it, and which is about 105 octane, and we're on a quest for 50 horsepower. That's what we're trying to get. But so far, all the feedback that I've got from the guys, and if I can get it on this video, I do have some video of Matt at Lazy on this quad. I just got to track it down, see if I can't upload it and kind of splice it into and incorporate it in this video. Because I believe I took it with my phone. I didn't take a camera out there. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get 50. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. And then after that, it's just me and a lot of seat time. There's really not much more to buy. The other little addition I made was I put some mud plugs in there. I noticed I was getting a lot of that lazy even when it was dry. The first time we were there, it rained. This last time it was pretty dry. But sand, sand tends to get up in the rear wheels here. More noticeable, I guess, when you're trying to wash the thing because, trying to get it out. But this will keep everything out of the, because of the beadlock lip, a lot of debris and dirt and sand tend to get in there. So that'll keep all that out of there. But she's really starting to come along as far as rideability. Like I said, I'm happy. Every change we've made so far has been a lot better. This is not the same quad. It's like I sold that quad and bought this quad. It's just a completely different machine. Really, really happy with it. Huge differences as far as forgiveness, as far as being in the wrong gear. I could not get this thing in fourth gear very long. Like maybe straight away, stay in fourth, going through a turn, downshift to third just because it didn't have enough power. And now I can be in fourth gear, go through the turn, and even if I'm a little down on RPMs, blip the throttle, and she picks right up. So I'm getting more confidence in the machine, which is giving me more confidence on the track, which is a better, just a much better situation to be in. So we're gonna load this up and go on to mats. So see how we do there. horsepower right there. Yeah. Let's get back to the engine. 4589. And it is, and look how smooth it is too. That's a really clean pass. Torque went up too. Actually, the torque's still really good on it. It's a nice shoot up. But another contributing factor could be the head as well. These heads actually did blow up a little better. The older head, right? Before they put the EGR stuff or whatever. It's fantastic though. Let's get over to the goods. That was good for a fast measure for improvement. Where are you? Oh, I forgot what this was. It's 10 or 11. 45079. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, the one that had the most torque. Yeah, they left it on 11. That's what it was set on before. It was set at 11. We were like, alright, well, let's just go with whatever has a better torque curve. Run past 11. Yeah, it jumped it literally exactly with 1 horsepower. It really didn't lose anything on torque. That's good.
So what I'm saying, the blue line, which is the last pass, right?
I'll change that so we can. Normally it's red. I'll change that around really quick. That's previous. Let's go back to we're already ready to go. That's right. Hold on a second. This part's a little goofy. Like it won't start showing you until you like restart.
Right.
It's a little crude. Alright, we're gonna do it. Okay, see, look, now put them back in numerical order or alphabetical order. It's the last one. So what it was set at. You go to your first run map. There you go. That's it right there. So now you can clearly see.
Yeah, just
Look how much it is carrying much better, and it's carrying
and top and higher up there too.
higher up there, right? So that's
So it just stretch its legs.
it just stretches legs. But there is room for improvement. The AFR goes for yellow lean up top. So not saying I can stretch his legs anymore. That's pretty good, but there is potential there. See, as far as before, see, I already had it. It was running exactly on the science of this, right?
There you go.
So before, the blue was where we were at before, and just the nature of this machine, how she's running and all. It's had a little bit of a lean spot, but obviously it came back to where it should go, no problem. Sometimes you just gotta run with it. But as we're focusing, from like 7,000 up, and had run it really on point. Now with our new intake, you can see we're starting to get lean. We're going past 13.5. So there's room for improvements, and then see if we can shrink maybe this, bring this down, and then bring this down. So these are all lean spots.
Gotcha.
So at least try to bring that down. So, or at least like how this was showing an improvement, a quick improvement. It was going rich, and then showed a quick improvement. Now see if we can make our new setup more like this or better.
Gotcha.
So, So I mean, and this is at a realistic temperature. the fan's about to come on, being realistic on it, not, you know, trying to ice it down or anything. And it's
Right.
It's about ambient temperature, and here's about 90 degrees.
So 47.6.
No, that's not bad. It's warm. It is warm out, and it's, you know, it is relatively dry. Actually, this is a good condition to be dynoing right now.
47.65. What was the torque number?
Let's see. That's a good question too. I'm gonna think that might have gone up as well. Right. So we're going back up. So 30.72. So we're almost back to the.
You're almost back to where you were.
Almost back to where it was.
Yep.
So I think this is fantastic. So.
Okay.
Right, because it, you know, it makes sense. You're gonna lose a little, gain a little bit, you know.
Right.
But you gotta tune it to start getting it back, and that's the big thing too, the torque. Which I feel like you had torque to spare, and also too, even better, look how much sharper the torque curve takes off. So it is quicker.
Yeah, it looks like it's a lot more than from
it
the
responds much faster. So now we're getting back to the meat, you know, the good
And
stuff.
what was your time that time?
It's a good question. I would assume that actually was faster. No, I actually slowed back up a hair. So actually the pass before, since we didn't zoom in on it,
Right.
was actually really, really fast. As far as, you know, taking off like almost 2/10 of a second. So I actually kind of backed up just a little bit. So I have to play a few more things. So it's, again, you know, pro and con. So it's like, do you want this, you want that, you want this, you want that.
This is a compromise, like gearing. You want to go faster, you want to take off quicker.
Right.
You know, same kind
It's
of
all the
thing.
above. But I mean, a 10th, you know, that's hard up. You know, that could be made up in other places too. But I mean, at least we see good consistency.
Right.
So, engine
Nice.
time, and again, also too, I'm happy to see I'm happy to see the torque. So usually, also sometimes you see the torque numbers start going up too. I've seen it slow down a little.
So we're about 2 horsepower now just on intake.
Yeah. So what's interesting is, so if you know, looking at it, it actually kind of lost a little bit, you know, of takeoff power, if you want to say that. Gained, you know, initial sharpness and torque, but lost, if you want to say that, a little bit of takeoff power, but then gains it back up top. So again, you know,
Spreading it out a little bit.
it's changed. It's basically, it's like it just flipped the script on it.
Right.
But this is what I do feel like this quad was missing when I wrote it. Was it had a really good bottom, but it was missing. It was missing to stretch its legs up top when you need it. Not saying it was bad, but when you're in the higher gears, like 4th or 5th.
Yeah, and honestly, I probably not to the point where I would have noticed that myself. You know what I mean?
I can notice it, and then not just myself, then, you know, 2 other riders can notice it. However, not saying it's slow by any means.
Right.
You know, it's still fast. And even 2 other riders like, yeah, this is really good.
Well, yeah, the 2 riders are faster riders too.
They enjoyed it.
Talk about Ralphie and Scott, yeah.
Yeah, Ralphie and Scott. Ralphie and Scotty, yeah. They did really good. So that I was watching on time, you know, how it developed faster and whatever. But then as far as going back to just raw numbers,
Right.
so this is more understandable. You know, we do see a little better bottom end pickup. They kind of come together from the last pass. See some advances, and still basically from 7,000 up, it's all advances from the pass before. So look at that, just on 3 passes. That's a big jump difference. So,
Yeah, it is.
So I forgot what you start off with. It was
The first number or the last one?
the very first time was it.
First pass today was 46.
Well, I'm saying from the very first when it started off. This is the first when it started off. This is the first pass when you first brought it.
Damn.
41.98, and look how scattered it is.
Yeah.
So now you see a big difference of engine development. So very, you know, very wavy, very, you know, basically the engine, it's making power, but that's becoming, we're starting to get on the laborings.
That was the first pass of the day, the blue line?
The very first time it got strapped on here, the very first pass.
Oh, first pass before, okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
before tuning.
Wow.
So that's it's come a long ways. That's a big number difference, and that's a big wave difference.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take off just even the torque numbers. So just the simple horsepower. That's huge.
Wow.
That's phenomenally huge. So yeah, the machine, she's got, not only does she have the power, she's got the legs to go with it too, to run with it. I mean, at no point here is it ever, you know, with this Max's, you know, if it's falling on its face, that's the problem. There's a hair, but everything right now is heading in the right direction. Everything's heading in the right direction. This is great. This is really good to see. So those are.
back home now, back in the shop. End result was that the intake instantaneously gave it an extra horsepower the first run on the dyno. And then after Mac did a little bit of his magic, tuning it, we got an extra horse. So I believe the last number was like 45.65, and now it's like up to 47.6 and change. So we got extra 2 horsepower. Interested to see how it translates, on the machine, on the track. Does 2 horsepower will make a difference? Will I notice it? Where will I notice it? The torque number went up just a hair. Still can't hit that 31 torque number. We're like 30.75, real close. Now, I did have the option, and Matt had asked me, and we had talked. So Matt's up to 50 plus on his stocker, just with the exhaust intake and with the Vortex tuner. His intake is different than mine. I opted to go with the 4Works. It's something that he had never tried out before. I was kind of sticking with the carbon fiber theme, but he was impressed with the 4Works. He'd never tried it before, never dynoed it, never put it on one of his builds, so he was instantly pretty impressed with it right off the get. Now, we had talked, and the quest was going to be to go for 50 horsepower. This is why I chose not to. So he was up to 47-ish. We're about the same where he was on pump fuel, and on pump gas. So basically, had I switched to like U4, which is about I think 105 octane VP fuel, and then retuned it again, he's confident it would have been 50 plus, over 50 horse. So, and by how much I don't know. It could be 50 and a half, 50.75, not sure. I'm not even sure what his exact number is. The reason why I opted not to, and it was like, yeah, I'm here, we could do it. We would drain this fuel out, replace it with U4, retuned it, and got there. I'm not so sure I need the extra 3 horsepower at this point. At this point, I have to catch up with the bike. When I first started, I felt that although I wasn't, an experienced rider at all, and I had my hands full, I thought the lack of power was hurting me more than it was helping me. My gear, I had to stay a gear lower than everybody else to basically do the same thing. When it came to coming to a jump, I couldn't get enough speed because I was a gear lower than everybody else. So the jumps were tough for me. Whoop sections were gnarly. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if they have the same whoop section, but last time I was at Mesa with this thing, they had a whoop section there. It was just kicking my butt. And there is video. If you go back to the first race where I didn't race but had practice footage, you can see it, and that's the track that I'm going to. So at this point, I figured a 47 is plenty. It's right in there with the other machines, with the 3 changes made, pipe intake and tuner. So at this point, the bike is up to par. So I figured I need to catch up now that I got more power, now that I've got suspension improvements. Now it's just a matter of honing my riding abilities. So, and not only that, the other thing would have been that I would have had to, once he had tuned it, I would have had to keep it on U4. I would have had to keep it on race gas. And it gets expensive. It wouldn't be, now if I was racing it, I use BP 110 leaded fuel in the buggy. Had I been able to just buy that one fuel, but now I'm going to have 2 different jugs of race fuel and this and that. I figured right now this is the way to go, this is the way to keep it. We did try an experiment. I do have the RP, down there, it's the shorty exhaust, the shorty muffler, it's a 12-inch muffler. Matt runs the 16-inch muffler. He was thinking that the 16 gives a little more back pressure, a little more torque. So while we had it there, he did pull his off his bike, put it on here, and we did a swap, and it actually went down a horsepower. So he was surprised, but he, for whatever reason, this bike likes the shorty pipe. and gets better torque numbers with the shorty pipe, which kind of goes against what he's seen, you know, from his testing. But the other thing is that, and he brought this up because I'm not a, you know, YFZ historian, that the 2009 to 2012 models had a different exhaust cam, and he thinks that that's why it's performing better with the shorty pipe than his 22 would. It doesn't have the EGR stuff that, you know, for emissions that the 22s do. It had a different exhaust cam. Apparently, it you know, it works better. He said, I believe he said he had a higher lift on the exhaust cam. So, I mean, those are all interesting things, and those are things just like I can rattle off buggy stuff. He can rattle off, you know, changes in from year to year. So, right now, I'm really happy with the bike. Gonna take it to Mesa, and we'll see how we do. And hopefully I'll bring you back some video from Mesa. So, till the next video. If you need parts, go to gotbuggies.com. We're expanding all the time. The part selection, you know, into UTV and four-wheelers, there's probably going to be now that I'm getting into it, now I'm learning and seeing what parts are good, because I only like to carry the good stuff if I can. Might start carrying some parts for sport quads and whatnot. So we already carry a good selection of DWT wheels and sport quad tires. So gotbuggies.com. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and in the comment section, I'll try and answer them best I can. So, I need to start packing a trailer because we're off to Mesa. All right, guys. You guys have a good one. Till next time, JD's out.